Good morning, and welcome to the Rick Helps Real Estate Show this fine Monday morning in Arizona. Yes, it's going to be hot, but aren't you glad we don't live in Florida? Amazing. That thing's steaming towards central Florida. It looks like it's going to barrel up to a high category 4 or 5. And then there are some models that are showing that it's probably quickly going to tamp down to a 1 or a 2. Let's hope that happens. But just glad I don't live there. Um, I get up this morning about through my second cup of coffee and I start going through my numbers and I look at the spike in expired listings and I'm puzzled, befuddled, bewildered, confused. Expired listings always happen on the first of the month. These listing agreements were signed weeks ago. I'm going to list your house for, I'll just say 3 months. And then we agree to an expiration date. Now, if this doesn't sell by, October 1st, then the listing will automatically expire. And you put the data in the MLS to where it'll automatically expire on its own. You don't even have to go in and do anything. It just does that. But who sets the listing agreement to expire on October 7th? Good morning, Jane. Good to see you. Our expireds have jumped up to 1,148 in the past 7 days, 440 this morning. I don't get it. Normally we run expired listings at the end of the month. As we come in the first month, maybe 500, 600, but twice the normal amount. And here's the other confusing part. I can't seem to find any other data through the Cromford report to double check it. So maybe there's just something goofy going on inside the multiple listing service, but I go through and look, and sure enough, the expired listings are there. They seem to have a few active listings floating around in there too. So anyway, I find it very puzzling. So we're going to go back and look at some of the numbers now and see what else is going on. But and then when you look and see, our sales have not moved. I told you this is going to be a slow fall, and it's lining up to be a very slow fall. We're just staying where we're at, 2,500, 2,550, something like that's in the ticker below. But our mortgage rates have jumped up to 6.53 this week, thanks to the strong jobs data. We got to have bad news before we get good news. But look at the active listings, 20,278 for a Monday. That's pretty big compared to where we've been. But let's look at some other things, because this one is interesting as well. I like to point this out once a month, and I wait, and it doesn't update until the 6th or the 7th of the month. But here it is, folks. This is the Cromford Demand Index and Supply Index. It's just an index that shows the number of buyers and the number of listings, the demand thereof. And you can see now that the supply index is above the demand index only by a bubble. But the last time this happened was back here, and it wasn't much, but you saw that, the supply outstripped demand for just a short little period, but prices really came down during this one spot right there. I can circle it better with my red pen here if I can get rid of this magnifying glass. There's my red pen right here. So are we going to get a repeat of that right here? This is definitely a canary in a coal mine when it comes to a decrease in pricing. Not a massive decrease in pricing, but you're going to see some pressure on the downward side, especially rates being about 6.5. This is a national average, assuming a 20% down, a certain FICO score. So you can beat that rate. But here's another thing this week. Price changes went up. Week beginning September 29th, price changes jumped from last week of 2,240 to 2,552. So a little over, what's that, 200 there? 2,200. It's a significant jump. So it's, when you look at expired listings, expired listings are just, I tried to sell it and it didn't sell, so I let the listing expire. They may have had a set price that said, hey, see if you can get me this. We'll try it for 3 months, 4 months. If we don't get it, we'll just let it expire. Maybe we'll come back and do it another day. Our canceled listings are running about average. They haven't spiked, not like expireds. So there are people that for various reasons said, well, let's just cancel this. And then um, back on market can happen for a lot of different reasons. Either something went under contract and then it fell out, usually during the inspection period, and then they put it back on to try again. Or seasonally, they took it off for the summer and said, well, it's fall now. Let's put it back on here. Stephanie has a comment. Economically speaking, given employment numbers exceeded expectations by a country mile, coupled with inflation reduction near a soft landing, yet interest skyrocketed by 50 BP. Makes no economic sense. You know, the bond market is giving up on a 0.50 reduction by the central bank. They're penciling in maybe 0.25. And Chairman Powell has said he's going to be patient. He's going to wait. But Stephanie, right now, a lot of things don't make economic sense. it's just weird. I've never seen a market where our under contract numbers are stuck. And that's why the number of listings have come up to where they are. And you can see that here. Well, you'd see it here if I would do this right. We're right at last year's level. So we're at 2022's level right there. And you can see how we've gone up quite a bit since, let's see, when did this climb start? Let me get rid of that. There we go. This started in end of July, first part of August. Inventory started climbing up. And but it didn't climb up because we had more new listings. And I know I keep explaining the difference on that, but it came up simply because the number of new listings we have were no longer met by the number of contracts, except for this week. So you can see again on the ticker below that we had 2,500 new listings, because I take new listings back on market and then I subtract cancels and expired. So we had 2,565 new listings net and 2,558 new contracts, a difference of 7 homes. It's only like that because of the expired listings. Now, prior to today, that gap was about 500 homes. So every week, 500 homes gets added to the total. Thus, this listing number keeps climbing and climbing. Something to do with the MBS bucket ranges. Technical, not typical. So new listings are coming up. Pending listings, though, there was some news articles last week saying, that since the rate reductions from September 18th, I'm still laughing at that. There were no rate reductions when Chairman Powell went to the podium. And so they were pointing out this little thing right here that they were saying that they were getting a lot of renewed interest. Well, they were getting more phone calls. You're getting more inquiries. People were asking, well, what's going on with the rates? It wasn't rolling into new contracts. And you can see that here with pending listings. They took a dip this week. And maybe it's just because we were all kind of hoping it wasn't going to be hot by now, that things would probably calm down and I'm not going to look at houses. Whatever. Also saw an interesting video the other day talking about the unintended consequences of saying that you're going to propose a $25,000 down payment grant or program or whatever you want to call it. That right now you're at a period where people are sitting on their hands waiting for the election to be over. Now you've added to the bowl of soup this possible 25,000, which would have to pass Congress. But now you got some buyers going, well, I'm going to wait for that. And so they're got another excuse to sit on their hands. I'm going to wait that out. This is going to be great. Prices are going to go down and I'm going to get 25K if I'm patient. So I don't know. I don't think that's going to see the light of day. I really don't. And so, but we shall see. Here is an interesting article I ran into, the Great Migration's lasting billion-dollar impact on Arizona. More than 6,000 tax filers who relocated to Maricopa County between 21 and 22 boosted the region's wealth. It's an article about how many people came here, and said it was spurred by the remote work policies adopted by many companies during the COVID-19 pandemic. But we're seeing that start to go away a little bit. I know Amazon up in Seattle is telling everybody, and one of my friends, his son works for Amazon, and they bought all this acreage in Eastern Washington. And so he's got to now drive to Seattle 5 days a week. I think they told him maybe only 4. It's 3-hour drive. So now he's got a house in Seattle. So he goes back to that house, and then he goes back out to the other one on the weekends. But, originally they told all these guys, well, you can work wherever you want. It's a remote job. And he does everything on the computer. It doesn't matter if it's in Seattle or in Mars. But what they're discovering is that the productivity was starting to show signs of going down. There weren't enough conversations between people. There wasn't a lot of ideas being spurred by the water cooler. And so a lot of companies are saying, nope, we want you to come back. Could it be that mortgage applications were not as high as the MBS market projected? I think that's possible. I haven't seen too much data on it. They were projecting, like you said, that we were going to have more mortgage applications. I'll check with Pat and see what's going on. But we didn't get the spike. We didn't get the 4 to 6 rate decreases that everybody was saying we are going to get. The people didn't rush to the gates to buy a house when rates went down. I'm by no means complaining. I like the fact that we're steady. I like that we're getting more inventory. I'm not opposed to seeing prices coming down. I just don't want major spikes and disruptions. Over time, we could see income start to catch and help to close the affordability gap, but I don't know. Here's another article about our economy here in Arizona. This economic development organization cites more than 200 business prospects in their pipeline. So this economic development group is encouraging businesses to come to Arizona, like Factor. Have you ever ordered food from Factor? I ordered that for a while. I like to cook, and there's a lot of meal prep in Factor. I think Factor gives it to you and it's already in a little pan. All you do is heat it up. So I got rid of that. There was another one, Chef something. They give you all the ingredients and you got to chop and dice and make the sauce. They already make sauce for you and make some cool meals. Pretty labor intensive. So I've walked away from that and I do it mostly myself now. I'm addicted to Instagram recipes. The Phoenix region is in the throes of a monumental run of business expansions and economic development announcements. This year alone, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing upped its investment in Phoenix from $40 billion to $65 billion, the largest foreign direct investment in Arizona's history, and secured nearly $12 billion in federal CHIPS Act subsidies and loans. Anchor Technology also announced plans for $2 billion semiconductor testing and packaging plant near the TSMC, while LG Energy Solution kicked off construction its first manufacturing plant in the valley. So we are growing, and as Renee says, jobs. Economy is better than we think. It could be here. We're seeing, definitely in Arizona, we're not seeing a lot of stresses. We're not seeing a lot of layoffs, with the exception of Intel. I haven't gotten the updates on Intel. They were going to lay off 15% of their workforce, but we didn't know how many of those were going to be in Arizona, mostly Chandler. I did run into a lady that worked at Intel when I was doing an open house last month. And she said, well, there are people kind of taking some voluntary exits now, maybe early retirements and leaving, and then they're going to put out the list. Stephanie, the amount of new warehouses springing up the tech sector around Mesa Gateway Airport's a good sign. Yeah, I just flew out of Gateway 2 weeks ago, and I drive down there quite often. I couldn't believe how many warehouses are down there. You just drive by and go, what's going in there? I mean, they're bigger than a football field. And even more so, go up the 303. Go out on Interstate 10 and then head north on the 303. It'll blow your mind. It's unbelievable. But then data warehouses, you see these big data warehouses, and those people that are in the industry say, yeah, they're big buildings, but they don't employ a lot of people, maybe a few dozen. You would look at that building and think, well, there's going to be 500 jobs there. Ain't so. It's just a whole bunch of servers, and they use a lot of electricity. So I think Arizona is now starting to take a closer look at just how many data centers we want in the valley, because we don't have enough juice. We don't have enough juice if everybody decides to plug in their electric cars. So some data centers are now coming in and saying, okay, well, we'd like to locate there, but we want the property next to it, and we will have our own solar source for our property. So, or they can put the solar plant farther away and pipe the electricity in. So they're saying, we want to come in, we'll provide our own electricity. That'll help. Water is another big factor, but the water is recycled. So the water comes in to use to cool and then it goes back to its source. Chandler's having a meeting, I think it's this week or next week, where they're going to explain how Chandler manages their water. I got to take another look at that. I might go to that. I shared something, I think it was Thursday and probably last night when I talked about our website here at Rick Helps, where you can send us your name, email, and your address, including the city, and we will give you a report on what your house value looks like. And it's a pretty decent little report here. I'm going to pull one up and show you. I like to get rid of the address here. I don't want you to bump into that. But here's what it looks like, folks. And you just send that to me, and we'll give you the value. And what you can see here on the top, it says 474,000, high confidence. It gives you a range 459 to 489. Now, it gives you a range because I don't know what your kitchen looks like. I don't know what your bathrooms look like, the remodels, but this is different than if you just go and you do the online one and it spits you out a number. It's different if you just go look at Zillow. This gives you more detail. It says, here's the most recent sales in the area. And it says here, this is the current value. This is the sale price. Then it shows you similar comparables. It gives you a map, shows that, and then it lists them down here. Then it shows you the active listings, which is if you're going to list, this is your competition. So it shows you what those homes are and what they're asking and their list date on the side there. So you can really dive in and see where your home sits in the current market. And here's a historical listing, 0 to 4 years. That's a bit long going out. And then there's just some more data that you can look at going down the line. It's showing here that we're 1 year risk of decline is approaching average. It's still in the green zone. And I tout that because, we can crank those out for you pretty quick. I think we sent out 2 yesterday and 1 this morning. And if you're going to list your house, you don't want the real estate agent to come in and go, it's worth 550,000. You go, okay. You pull in another agent, it comes in 560,000. Okay, I'll take you. You have to be the one deciding your listing price. Now, I had a listing that came up and it's in Sun Lakes, and we were listing it. And the seller was told by her friends who had realtors that we were pricing it too low. And I said, well, then we'll see. And it was a price that her and I agreed on, and Jessica. And so we agreed on what the market was telling us. And where are all these people that said we were priced too low? We do have a contingency offer on it now, but I told her, I said, well, tell those realtors if it's such a bargain to bring us some buyers. But my point is, you have to be actively involved in securing the price for your house. Otherwise, you're going to end up playing the blame game. It's the realtor's fault. They set the price. No, it's not. It's your fault for agreeing to the price. You need to take a look at your own data and really dive in and be married to it, because you've been checking it every week on Zillow anyway, haven't you? So you need to be very familiar with where those numbers in. Renee says, I'm in Flagstaff, but follow the trends in Phoenix. I like to follow the trend in the Valley. Plus, you have a fantastic channel. Thanks, Renee. I think you're up by that park up there, that RV park that I've stayed at a few times. I think you reached out to me once and said, hey, I'm right up by you. And you had that fire up there. So I love it up there. But boy, it's expensive. The average price of a home in Flagstaff, $660,000. It is pricey up there, Renee. So, but it's fun. I want to get up there in the next week or two because the colors are changing up there. So I want to get up and see what's going on, take my camera. So we'll see what happens. But hey, look, if there's agents out there and you're watching this, put in the comments and tell me why you think expireds spiked. Why did they jump up like they did? And it could just be that there's something wrong in the data. I don't know. And maybe I'm obsessing on it too much, but it just seems so odd to me this morning that we had over 400 expired listings today that should have occurred last week. So there's something funky going on out there, and it's not a game changer. It's not ruining the market. It's just one of those things that make you go, huh? And that's how my day started. So I hope your day's starting good, and I hope you have a fantastic week. Thanks for watching. Have any questions, shoot me an email at rick@rickhelps.com. Take care.